Okay, welcome to another episode of the Open Source Interview Series. My name is Lizzie Lasater, and I'm speaking from Munich, Germany. And I'm joined today by Gahl Sasson, who is joining us from Los Angeles, California. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Gal's going to be in Munich in July, from July 9th through 13th, teaching at Jiva Mukti. So we're really looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah, I love Munich. I was there, I think, a few years ago, and it made a great impression of me. Actually, I love the English Gardens, I think you call it.
Uh-huh.
There's a standing wave there because my name
Mm-hmm.
in Hebrew means a wave. And actually, what led me to yoga and then to astrology and to Kabbalah was deciding to go surf because I wanted to understand more about myself. And I knew that the meaning of my name, meaning a wave, the only way to really understand it is to kind of surf. So when I was in Munich, I happened to just walk around the city, and I managed. Somehow I got into precisely that bridge when you can see the
Mm-hmm.
people surfing. And I remember I took a picture of it and sent it to my list because I said I never knew that a wave can stand, and that's so beautiful that in Munich they found a way to make a wave still be a wave but stand, which is really beautiful to see all the people that are surfing the standing wave. I really love that.
It's the magic of German engineering.
Yeah, totally. It totally is. And I think it's the most beautiful thing about it. For me, it's the thing that struck me the most in Munich.
So tell me a little bit about your story. How did you make your way to the work that you do now with Kabbalah and mythology? And it started through yoga. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, because I think what happened was I finished, I studied psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and I always felt there was something a little bit missing in psychology. I didn't really know what. And then after I finished my degree, my friends called me and told me that they're going to Mexico to surf, and I never surfed, and they were really avid surfers. And I said, at first I said no, and then I suddenly had this voice in my head, like all of us have sometimes, and it told me your name. And I thought, okay, my name in Hebrew means, like I said, a wave. So maybe this is a sign, a synchronicity that I should follow. So I joined my friends. I thought I'm going to go there for 3 weeks, and I ended up learning how to surf. And then I escorted my last friend to Guadalajara, which is in the mountains. It's a place where they have an international airport. So
Mm-hmm.
he flew back to Israel, and I decided to stay a few more months until I can start doing my master's and PhD in psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing led to the other. Suddenly, I found myself in the streets again. I tend to roam a lot, and things happen when you're by yourself in distant places. And I met these people that were doing auditions, strangely enough, to a singer. And I
Mm-hmm.
happened to walk into their house for some other reason. I saw the mic, I started singing, and we created a band called Sirius, which is named after the dog star.
Uh-huh.
And I was adopted by an Israeli family there that I happened again to meet by coincidence, who basically gave me free place to stay for 2 years. And they adopted me to their family. They had 3 kids that they also adopted. So it was kind of like one big family.
Uh-huh.
And then because I had a lot of time on my own, because I was just doing my band, I was running a lot in the park. And one day I saw these people dressed in white. They were doing Kundalini yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and I joined them. And then one thing led to the other. The teacher of the yoga, because that's their yoga center. The yoga center was basically under the trees in the park. Told me one day to come with him to help heal, to do some kind of a healing ceremony to one of his clients. And it really worked what I did to him because I studied Tibetan healing in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
His wife wanted to give me back something, and she gave me an astrology chart. And I could see that she doesn't really know what she's doing because she kept looking at the books to see everything that I have. But everything she was saying was much more profound than a lot of the psychologists that I had that tried to psychoanalyze me for years.
Wow.
So I said to myself and to the universe, which is something I always recommend people to do, just close my eyes and spoke, lightly to the universe, saying, I'm in Mexico. I don't speak Spanish. It was 1996 or 5 before internet was even there. I'm not going to look online to see where to study astrology. I don't have any money. So, if this is something I need to do, the universe really needs to do something blunt to put me in connection to astrology. And I completely forgot about it. And then 3 weeks after, my guitar player told me that he wants to take me to this gathering of people, and I said no, because I don't always feel comfortable with large groups of people that I never met. And then I decided to go with him. I stayed all the way in the back so I can escape. And I was about to escape when the person that was teaching this workshop turned to the board and started writing in Hebrew.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, that's interesting enough to stay until the end. And apparently they were studying Kabbalah.
Uh-huh.
And I came closer to him and I told him it's fascinating. I'm all the way from Israel. And here I am looking at the blackboard full of Hebrew letters. And he says, yeah, we teach astrology and Kabbalah. And I said, okay, I get it. This is the message. And what we did is we did kind of a trade. I did everything that they needed in Hebrew. And I studied astrology for 2 years. And I became really good friends with him. So basically, by following my name, I got to yoga, which led me to astrology, which led me to Kabbalah, and which led me to what I'm doing now, talking to you about me coming to teach Kabbalah and astrology in a yoga center. But I think there's nothing special about me or my name. I feel that if everybody follows their name, and every time somebody comes into a junction in their life, and instead of asking, what would Jesus do? What would Buddha do? What would Shiva do? You just ask what my name would do. You know, what would, in my case, a wave do? You're named after a flower. What would that flower do? You know, when does it bloom? What is its color? What kind of things pollinate it? What kind of areas in the world it grows? What kind of medicine comes from it? So you can really work very well with everything that has to do with your name and your path, and to understand your path. And also with the way to talk to the universe is really, the universe talks to us through a lot of synchronicities. We just have to pay attention to them and remember them, because people tend to think, oh, wow, you know, I had this crazy coincidence. And, okay. So it's not only about interpreting those and thinking, what does it mean? It's realizing that synchronicities come in sequence, if they're real ones and if they're important ones. And they try to tell a story. And if you follow those links, that's, I think, what I've learned. It's not so much to surf waves, but to surf synchronicities and coincidences. And that's really what I try to teach in classes, because I think the universe converses to us through synchronicities. And I think that especially people who do yoga and do a lot of work in mysticism, they're much more of a vessel and prepared to listening to these synchronicities. Because later on, when I came to LA, which is basically the city of angels, strangely enough, that's what the name is, I found out that in Guadalajara, where I lived for 2 years studying Kabbalah, in Guadalajara, Spain, is where the Zohar, which is the most important book in Kabbalah, was written. So it's as if my soul somehow knew I need to go to the first Guadalajara I can find, which is in Mexico. Today, I'm sure if you go to Guadalajara, Spain, you're not going to find a lot of learning, teaching in Kabbalah. But it's as if my soul associated learning Kabbalah and mysticism and spirituality with Guadalajara. You have to get to Guadalajara, even though we went to surf very far away from Guadalajara. So what I always try to get people to do is to trust synchronicities and to trust themselves to get those synchronicities and to pay attention to them.
Yeah, so I am doing some research, and in talking to you just now, I've heard you talk about this idea of listening to the signs. So what does that feel like when if I'm listening to the signs in my life? What are practical ways which I can kind of turn on my antenna?
I think it's the most important thing is remembering. People have a hard time remembering sequences of coincidences because they pay too much attention to every synchronicity on its own. It's almost as if it's particle physics instead of wave physics. And I think that you need to do both. So what I would suggest is to open a file on your smartphone that says synchronicities. And every time there is a synchronicity, a sign, a coincidence, you thought about somebody and they called you, you were thinking about something and suddenly it appeared. You keep writing about it. And then whenever you're bored or you're waiting for a bus or whatever, you start reading those files and suddenly it will start telling you more stories. The good thing about astrology or other systems that map life is that they tell you a little bit more about when and what those synchronicities might mean. But my feeling a lot of time with signs and synchronicities is forget about what does it mean, just recognize them. And the minute you recognize them, it's almost like your friend kind of gets into the mode that you're listening to them, therefore they'll give you more advice.
So what is the importance of telling stories? Like why do we need to arrange it in a story for ourselves?
Because that's how we evolved. I mean, we now know that the reason why humans survived over, let's say, the Neanderthal or over other species of even humans is that they call it the gossip theory, is that when we started telling stories about each other in the troop, we managed to get beyond 50 people, which is the normal amount of individuals in a group, because everybody knows each other, to 150, to 200. So our society is based on the ability to tell stories, to entertain. Oh, did you hear what she did yesterday? No, what did she do? She found these berries over the other side of the cave and she stole it all to herself and didn't give to her partner, blah, blah. These are the early stories that maybe our ancestors started talking about. But what they now know is that a lot of the storytelling that took place around the fireplace were basically stories of myth, stories that were imaginative or related to spirits and so forth. And that was a way to convey information to the next generation instead of waiting for mutations coming from the genetics. So if a rabbit dies because it ate a bad mushroom, we'll have to wait for the genetics to only the rabbits that don't eat that mushroom survive. In humanity, we told this whole story about the mushroom. And a mushroom that makes me very tall and a mushroom that makes me very small, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you have Alice in Wonderland. So those stories helped us evolve faster than a mutation. So the same thing with synchronicities, they help us evolve faster than just trial and error.
Yeah, it's so interesting also that you said this piece about the name. It's as if you're speaking directly to me, although we have a larger audience, but my personal path has been, I studied design and I come from a family where yoga is my family business. My mom has been teaching yoga for 40 years and she was early with Mr. Iyengar. And I very much although I practiced for myself, I didn't think, I shouldn't be a teacher. I don't have much to teach and much to say. And it's been pulling me back. And now I'm combining yoga and design. And it's as if the universe is saying, every time I start incorporating more yoga into my work life, the universe is saying yes. It's just so easy and it's opening up. And it's so interesting because it's literally my name. I started teaching again using my maiden name, even though I have a married name. And it's like this name is so powerful for me somehow.
Yeah, because last names are associated with your tribe. So if you come from the tribe of yogis, the minute you start using more your maiden name, you're connecting to your ancestral story, which is to yoga. And yoga, don't forget, yoga means to connect. So just doing yoga doesn't connect. Doing yoga with another things, you're starting to connect. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. So tell me more about your personal rituals, the type of things you do every day or every week to connect with spirit. What does that look like?
I usually start in a meditation in the morning. I think that's something that most people do. I have a little bit of a prayer. You can say a prayer like a conversation with the universe of things that I would like. Usually I ask for, because I deal with so many people on a daily basis doing their charts and so forth, I just very simply ask to give the right advice and to say the right thing so that the people can actually grow. It's something simple, but it's something pretty important for a person like me. I used to do a lot of different kinds of yoga because I used to be a gymnast when I was younger. And lately I'm very much into jiu-jitsu. It's a form of martial arts that I really connect to. And maybe because I have a lot of Aries energy with me, which is the fighter and the warrior, I need some kind of an outlet. But physical activity for me is extremely important. And juicing is extremely important, not as a fast, just on a regular basis. I think that part of my meditation is paying attention to what I eat, in a sense. I think it gives you a certain kind of schedule and a certain kind of focus. Those are the main thing. And I love working with when I'm not traveling, because half of the time I travel, but I love working with the garden. I would have showed you a garden if I... but the earth for me is really, really important, and it's part of my rituals.
Tell me just quickly, why juicing? What is your thought on that?
On what?
Juicing.
Because I feel that that's a very good way to connect to Mother Nature directly. And I started finding myself saying it a lot to people and not doing it myself. And then I started doing it myself. And I've realized why I was saying it to so many people. I literally, not that I needed to lose weight, but I suddenly got to the point where I opened the fridge after juicing and everything seems silly.
Yeah.
It's almost as if your food is completely different. And not only that, there was actually a study they made when they asked women to rate pictures of men from different races, different traditions, as manly or as attractive, sorry. And one of the option was features, to pay attention to their manly feature, if they had like, I don't know, cheekbones and stuff like that. And the other one is the skin complexion, to tell what do they think about the skin complexion, not the color, but the complexion. And apparently, by far, women preferred men who had a specific skin complexion, even if they didn't have manly features, which really surprised the researchers. And when they started isolating what is that complexion in the face, what is the color, it was a special hue of yellow that comes from keratin, which basically means fruits and vegetables. So apparently,
Wow.
on an evolution level, men, I'm sure it's the same for women, who eat a lot of vegetables and fruits are more attractive to women. You would think, oh, the guys that eat meat and are kind of, no, it's actually vegetables and fruits that make you attractive. So that's another example of how these things kind of work. And it's interesting that in Kabbalah, yellow is associated with Apollo, with the sphere of the heart, the center of the tree of life. So for me, it's extremely important.
I
And of
love
course,
that.
information.
I love that. I think that fruits and vegetables, I see them as prana. And when I grocery shop, I try to teach my husband this. You just pick the things that have the most prana. You have to look at them and see which fruits and vegetables are shouting at you in the store, and that's what you have to buy.
I totally agree, because that could be the way that we were back then in the forest.
Yeah.
You were walking in the forest and you had to trust. I mean, how do you know that it's not poisonous? How do you know that it's not peyote and now you're going to be for 3 days throwing up and seeing visions?
Yeah.
How do you know that it's something nutritious?
Yeah. And instead, we're just today at an organic supermarket blindly buying it because it's on the list.
And at least it's organic. It's not stuff like that. But yeah, I
Well,
definitely agree.
I'm going to let you go. I know you've got a tight schedule today, but I wanted to just thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, speak with us. And I know it's going to be a great treat to have you here in Munich. Tell me quickly how people can find out more about you online.
They can go to my website, cosmicnavigator.com.
Okay.
And I'll send you the link also for, I think you have the link to the events in Jimamukti, right?
Yes. And I also want to really suggest that people buy your book. I've been reading it for the past couple weeks since we connected. A Wish Can Change Your Life, How to Use the Ancient Wisdom of Kabbalah to Make Your Dreams Come True. And I'm loving working through the steps.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think I'll be able to see you at least on Friday night when you're here. I'll come introduce myself. And
Oh,
otherwise,
great.
safe travels, be well, and take care.
Thanks a lot to all of you
Okay.
guys.
Ciao, bye.
Bye.